This book is called The Lost Tribes, a Myth. The Library of Biblical Studies, edited by Professor Harry M. Orlinsky. Alright, so low quality information, huh? This is not low quality information. This is coming from the Library of Biblical Studies. And the men who documented in this book were all scholars from different colleges. Duke University, North Carolina University, different universities. These men put this book together along with this brother, Alan H. Godby, PhD. But he said low form or low quality information. We have proof to show that we are the Israelites. Wait a minute, what does that say? Professor of Old Testament in Duke University? Stephen A. Smith and whatever the other guy's name is, he wanted more information. Well, we have more information for you. Here it is. Let's go to page 246. Let's see what this says in the second paragraph here. It says, these facts have a peculiar significance when the presence of Judaism among American Negroes is to be considered. Hundreds of thousands of slaves were brought to America from this Western Africa during the days of the traffic. What traffic? The Atlantic slave trade, beginning nearly 400 years ago. How much more of Judaism survived amongst West African Negroes in that earlier time? They're calling it Judaism, but we are sticking to our Hebraic roots of being Israelites prior to 1948, prior to the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. Okay, this is what it's talking about. As persecuted communities, they were rather more in danger than other Negroes of being raided by war parties.
It's time your family pay kunta. Run!
And sold as slaves. It may be considered certain that many partially Judaized Negroes, they weren't Judaized, they were of the tribe of Judah and the other 11 tribes, were among the slaves brought to America. How many of them might still hold some Jewish customs? We didn't have Jewish customs, we had our heritage.
You must always honor your ancestors, the ones who love you and watch over you.
Being Israelites, some Jewish customs in their new home is another question. Then the introduction of Judaism from Europe into the coastal regions is very modern times is to be considered. Of this fact, there are satisfactory records. On the Cabinda coast in Portuguese, West Africa is an interesting group of Negro Jews known as Mavumba. They are skillful smiths and potters, consequently prosper. Ratzo considers them connected with the colony of Jews expelled from Portugal and settled on Sam Thome Island. The Portuguese discovered Sam Thome in 1471. So I'm bringing proof out. This is not low quality information. Study to show yourself approved. The information is there.
And I would like to accept it. But brother, I gotta know more. I gotta know much more.
Okay, so if you did not know that the blacks were Israelites, I guess I'm going to intrigue you and help you again for those of you who were bewitched in the confusion of the mass media saying that the Negroes are not Jews. I'm going to just bring out a few books and I'm going to make this really quick because there's a lot of brothers who got marked by Brother Deshaun Jackson, and Stephen A. Jackson led a lot of brothers away from the truth by his statement. So let's go to a few books. This is called Nature Knows No Color Line, J.A. Rogers. I'm not going to waste a lot of time with this. I'm going to go right into it. Now, a lot of Israelites were called Egyptian. I'm going to read this. It says, Strabo says the people, this is page 123. So Strabo says the people of Western Judea were of part Egyptian ancestry. But he says, although the inhabitants are mixed up, thus the most prevalent of the accredited reports in regard to the Temple of Jerusalem represents the ancestors of the present Judeans, those who are the true Jews, as they are called Egyptians. So if they were called Egyptians, the Egyptians were dark people, Hamitic people, black people. They were calling the Judeans Egyptians. Let's read on. Tacitus of about 90 AD says, many assert that the Jews are an Ethiopian race. Now they're saying that they're Ethiopian. What you have to understand is during those days, there was no one called black. So a lot of the Israelites who were actually Negroes were called also Ethiopians. When you look at the scriptures, it tells you. This is Amos 9:7. Are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me? It's not saying that we're Ethiopians. It says that we favor Ethiopians. We're dark like them. O children of Israel, saith the Most High. Look at this one. Have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt? Where did we come out of? Egypt. So, historical facts said that the Judeans were called Egyptians and that they look Ethiopians. Right? The modern day Jewish people do not look like either of them, of the ancient Egyptians and the ancient Ethiopians. Look at this. It says, for Romans to have taken them for Ethiopians. The Romans thought we were Ethiopians too. Ethiopian race. For Romans to have taken them for Ethiopians is clear indication of their color, since the Ethiopians were definitely black to the Romans. Interesting. Let's go over to 122, page 122. And let's go here. The last paragraph. It says, as was already said, the ancient Jews who left Egypt must have been quite negroid. He's trying to get his thoughts together after mating with Egyptians and Ethiopians for centuries. So he's saying that the Jews were mating with Egyptians and Ethiopians. All right. They were probably even originally negroid. So the Israelites were originally negroid. Abraham, according to the Bible, came from Ur of the Chaldeans. You have to understand, negroid is not in the Bible. So negroid is synonymous with Israelite, Shemitic, Shem. This is Abraham, according to the Bible, came from Ur of the Chaldees. Chaldea was the seat of the Sumerian civilization, which was long considered to be white Aryan. They thought that they were white Aryan, but it was negroid. Says spearing in the childhood of art. Come on, man. You people need to study. All right, here's another one. This is page 123, lower. I'm going down to the bottom. Waite says, an interesting gradation of all shades down to... Now, this is another guy that he's quoting from. He could possibly be a white guy. Waite says, an interesting gradation of all shades down to the black is exhibited by the Jews. Especially dark were the Jews of Spain and Portugal. The Portuguese Jews were very dark, says Pritchard. And now he's confused. He's like, I can't believe these Jews are black. So dark were the Jews, especially of Portugal and southern Spain, that many whites thought all Jews were what? Black or dark. Man, people better wake up. These are brothers that are in Rome, and they called them Ethiopians. What did they call Paul? They called him an Egyptian. The Most High just called us that we favor Ethiopians. Our people, man, gotta wake up. It's ridiculous. Okay, I'm gonna read this. This comes from the Library of Congress by yours truly, Benjamin Franklin, 1751, but this is not low-grade information. Your president wasn't a low-grade information.
Who are susceptible to low quality information, except this information is true.
So I'm going to go ahead and read this. It says, and since detachments of English from Britain sent to America will have their places at home too soon supplied and increased so largely here, why should the Palatine Boers be suffered to swarm into our settlements? In other words, they were guarding from the people of color to come into their establishments. They were keeping us away. Like the Irish, a lot of the Irish were black. Right? A lot of people don't know that. It says, and by herding together established their language and manners to the exclusion of ours. Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens? See, they were trying to prevent that. It says, who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of our Anglifying them, and will never adopt our language or customs any more than they can acquire our complexion. All right, this happened in 1751. Now, you know that St. Maurice was in Germany, in those lands, and there was a lot of his army were swarthy brothers of complexion. So this is what they meant. They didn't all. We see one picture here, one picture there in history, but they saw the armies of St. Maurice, which were a lot of people of swarthy complexion, which we would call black today, or tawny. Second paragraph reads, which leads me to add one remark, that the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. Here is the Edomite man, so-called white man, saying that their complexion is very small in the world. The next sentence reads, all Africa is black or tawny. It said all Africa. That means Israel too. Israel is in northeast Africa. All Africa is black or tawny. Asia, chiefly tawny. The East Indians, Elam, tawny. America, exclusive of the newcomers, wholly so. This is Asia, chiefly tawny. America, exclusively of the newcomers. Who are the newcomers? Those of the Mayflower. They were the newcomers to the Americas. So who were the people of America? What complexion were they? Black and tawny. So this is wholly so. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes are generally of what we call a swarthy complexion, as are Germans also, as are the Germans also. The Saxons only accepted it, who with the English make the principal body of white people on the face of the earth. So it was only a small population of so-called white people, which were up north of the European and Caucasus Mountains. So it says, I could wish their numbers were increased. And while we are, as I may call it, scurrying our planet by clearing America of woods, what are they doing in America? Chopping down all the trees, building forts. Like Fort Bragg, Fort Knox, all of those forts were being built. They were cutting down the trees. And so they were taking over America inch by inch, starting with the 13 colonies, and moved their way from the east to the west. It says, and so making this side of our globe reflect a brighter light to the eyes of inhabitants in Mars or Venus. These are the gods they worship, Greek gods. Why should we, in the sight of superior beings, darken its people? Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America? Do you hear what he's saying? Where we have so fair an opportunity, we have an opportunity to be white, that's what they're saying, by excluding all blacks and tawnies. Who are the tawnies? The Americans, the Native Americans, the Mexicans, okay, South Americans. Remember I said tawny is light skin, very, very light. Of increasing the lovely white in red. They wanted to increase their complexion. Because remember, they called the Native American Indians red, but the American Indians were not red. They were tawny. They called them red so they could become Native American Indians. That's why when you watch TV, they say red because they look red. They replaced the Native American Indians with white complexion. But perhaps I am partial to the complexion of my country, for such kind of partiality is natural to mankind. So see that? They tried to change the complexion of the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, so they're just telling you right here that most nationalities were dark. Most of the Israelites were already in Europe. Europe, Spaniards, Italians, French, Russians, and Swedes. Now let's get another author's opinion. And just for the record, us as Israelites have nothing to prove to the heathen, to the Gentiles. We have nothing to prove to y'all. It's for our people. It's not for you. So you can get mad all you want, but it's not for you. For that brother to post that up on his Instagram, it wasn't for y'all. It was for his people. That's not low quality information. That is precious jewels. All right. So brothers, don't get discombobulated with these talking heads. They don't know nothing and they work for people who control them. All right. It's called America being the accurate description of the New World. I want to see, when was this written? Okay, so this was first published in 1670. 1670, y'all see that? You can see the ISBN number if you want it. So look at this. I'm on page 27. I'm on page 27 and I'm going to read something to you. Now, we just read about them coming to the Americas and taking over from the blacks and the tawnies. So it says here, let me start here where I got the tab. It says, some would derive the Americans from the Jews. All right, so we just read that the Jews were black, dark skinned, look like Ethiopians, Egyptians. Others from the 10 tribes of Israel carried into captivity. The ground of which opinions is that the Jews and Israelites were scattered amongst all nations. Therefore, they conclude that America was also peopled by them. So they were peopled by who? The Israelites. The rather because the ancient Jew and American were of one complexion. You see that? So he just said, do not increase the sons of Ham. There's already dark complected people here that were considered Israelites. And went alike habited, both going without shoes, only wearing sandals, and an upper coat over a shorter linen vest. Both are humble, quick of apprehension, and obliging, yet valiant. But it is certain they cannot be like the Jews, because the Americans change their habit according as they live in cold or hot countries, and go not in the least like one another. Basically he's saying that they change the way that they operate in types of weather. Some stop wearing clothes like they used to because it's so hot. Because of the weather being so hot, a lot of brothers took their clothes off and started just wearing shorts. You know, some of them changed their habit on how they keep the laws. Some of them changed their habits on foods that they ate. They became like the heathen, a lot of them. So this right here shows you that we were dark-skinned people. We were black. So I don't know what some of these brothers are saying when they said that we aren't black people. The Jews aren't black people. It's crazy. Do some research, do some studying, and you'll find out that we are the original Jews, that we are the Israelites. The history is here. And this does not make us anti-Semitic. We are Shemitic. We are from Shem. If we're Jews, if we are Jews, then we are Shemitic. So how can we be anti-Shemitic? This is who we are. They're anti-Shemitic because they go against the Shemitic people. It's reverse manipulation, what they're doing on us. Reverse manipulation of our heritage. All right, that's all I'm going to do. If you want to look up something else in the Bible, go to Acts chapter 21 and 38, where Paul was called the Egyptian. And you can go to Genesis chapter 50 and 7. Genesis 50 and 7, look at this. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt. So yeah, they were called Egyptians. Dark Egyptians. I mean, I don't have to pull everything out for you, do I? You can look it up yourself what color the Egyptians were. You could go to Egypt yourself and look on the walls and look at the hieroglyphics and the people on there, and you could tell what color the Egyptians were. All right, you could do that. The Israelites are on the walls. They're also black people. They were also in slavery in Egypt for a small period of time, unlike us here in America. So, I mean, come on, man. Just think a little bit. Stop worrying about stop worrying about those who are over you. I mean, because ultimately, if you deny this, the Most High will break you down. The Most High will take what you have earned on this earth. He will take it away from you. He will make you lose everything just so you can come into the truth. The majority of brothers who are in the truth lost everything before they came into the truth. We had to lose everything in order to see. That's why these plagues are on earth, to break people down so they can see the truth. That's why it's coming out all over social media now. So, you know, I mean, I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to just, because basically if you watched our channel, we've always brought out information like this. It's just that we got to keep bringing it out and refreshing people's minds because they forget. So, I mean, some of these books I've already brought out before. This ain't the first time we done that. We used to bring it out all the time on the streets. So, you know, for you brothers who are in the truth, all praise to the Most High. All the brothers in the truth are our people. And I know a lot of brothers in the truth try to distance themselves from other brothers based on the way that they carry the doctrines, but ultimately we're all Israelites. Those who find out that the Israelites, we're all Israelites. It's a blessing. That's how I see it. It's a blessing. The Most High is going to come down and do all the sifting and the dividing. So we'll keep it at that. So with that, I'm going to say shalom.